This is Sparta!
Welcome back to Spartan Leadership. I'm your host, Josh Kosnick, and this is your podcast for inspiration, impact, and of course, leadership. Today's a special day. We got me, myself, and I doing a solo episode. Alec is on paternity leave, and so therefore we're running things solo, and I hope this turns out all right because I want to pour into all of you Spartans today. And it's been on my mind a lot as of late as I'm heading into busy season of helping my clients, teams, leadership teams, do annual planning. And what's been on my mind about it has been the fact that so very few people do annual planning or planning of any sort in their lives. And it's such a crucial part of being able to succeed, to be able to do anything big, do anything great, to achieve really anything meaningful, is to be able to set out a plan and to create the steps, the goals, the rocks to get there. And for me, I take such great pride in this time. I've been doing annual planning for myself, my own business, and others' businesses for over 20 years now. And so this time of year is a joyful time. I started in September working on this for our team and now continuing for others. So let me tell you a little bit about what goes into annual planning and what you should be thinking about. And I'm going to first take this from a business standpoint, and then I want to give you some tips on the personal side as well. Because also, far often, what I'm seeing too far often is that most high achievers are really good at planning for their business, setting goals for their business, achieving goals for their business, but they don't do such a great job in their personal life. And so let me focus on business first, and I'll transition to personal life second. But when we think about business planning, we first must think about what is the long-term vision. And that long-term vision could be anywhere between 5 years and 30 years. So let's say it's a 10-year vision. Where do you see yourself in 10 years? Where do you see the business in 10 years? What does that look like? What's the lighthouse? That's the lighthouse for you to keep focused on and for everyone on your team. Now, also remember, this vision needs to be big enough that everyone underneath you can fit their visions inside of. Because if you don't have a big vision that they can fit their visions inside of, they're going to go find a leader that has a bigger vision. So that's a risk you run by not having a vision at all, or at least a big one at that. So what does it need to be? What does life look like? What does the business look like in 10 years? What's that big, hairy, audacious goal, that BHAG that you see? Is it a revenue number? Is it a number of lives served, number of lives impacted, number of new customers attained? I can tell you some really simple ones. Back in the day, Nike's was just 2 words: crush Adidas. Now, you best believe they had some metrics behind that as to what that meant, but they were laser focused and clear that beating Adidas, being the biggest shoe company in the world, was their long-term vision, and everyone rallied behind that. So it starts with that long-term vision. Now, that's just the lighthouse. How are we going to get there? So we got to truncate this down. So if we get the vision right, and it's big and scary, we can now truncate it down to, say, 3 years. But let me say one last thing on the long-term vision. Only about 50% of the time do people hit this. Do companies hit this? That doesn't mean they set it inappropriately. That means they set it appropriately. Reason why I say that is because many people try to aim realistically, to think realistically. They're not trying to stretch their imagination, stretch their being, grow into that vision. And so what happens? Let's say it's a $10 million company and someone brings up they want to grow to 100. But the CFO in the room or someone at the leadership table says, I don't know about that. Realistically, I think we could do 50, but 100, that sounds scary. I don't think we can do that. I don't want to set us up for failure. Well, let me ask you something. Is it failure if you didn't hit 100, but you hit 80. I don't know about you, but my math says 80 is bigger than 50. And that's the point of setting it big enough and far enough out there, or not far enough out there, but big enough where you're scared by it and you're driving towards it. And instead of playing it safe and just hitting 50, you went to 80. There's not going to be too many people disappointed with that. You're going to fight like hell to get to 100. But if you only get to 80, you're still 30 greater than 50 for those mathematicians out there. All right. So let's think about the 3-year picture. The 3-year picture is where we start to bring it to life. From a revenue, profit, some key measurables, usually leading indicators. You're thinking about the 3-year picture in a way that where do I need to be in 3 years to be on track for that 10-year? What does it look like? Do we need a new office building? Do we need to make some key executive team hires? Do we need to add staff to the bottom level? Do we need new trucks? Do we need new equipment? Whatever business you're in, you can think through what it actually looks like and get that written on paper so that everyone on the team can start to visualize what it's going to look like in just 3 short years. Okay, let's break that down to 1 year. Now we're looking at 2026. 2026, what's at the end of 2026, December 31st, 2026, what do we need to have done? What big goals do we want to achieve in this year? Now, this is where people get a little overzealous. They think they can do too much. And I'm talking about number of goals. What I want you to focus on is 3 to 7. And I'll even break that down further. What's the one goal that you would be absolutely pissed off if you didn't hit? And if we get that singular focus, that the rest of the goals that may fall underneath that just kind of fall into place. So I first want you to think of that one goal that you would be absolutely mad at yourself, mad at the team that you didn't accomplish. That's the big one that you got to hit. Now, from there, we can break out 2 to 6 other goals that may fall underneath that. And then I want to give you one key thing that I focus on a lot with my teams. Neuroscience tells us that our brains are built as sprinters, not marathoners. So if science is telling us this, this is also why the majority of people do not hit their annual goals, their New Year's resolutions, because they think about them annually and they don't truncate them down even further. So what's best, what science tells us is best, and I've seen this not just from a data science standpoint, but I've seen this in real life, not only for myself, but the businesses that I coach, is to break them into 90-day increments. So in those 90 days, we need to focus on what are the 3 to 7 most important, what we call rocks. And in those rocks, we're setting out in the next quarter, this is what's going to be most important for us to be able to get and achieve our 1-year goal. At the end of that quarter, we take a half day to a day to get out of our business to work on our business. What did we do right? What did we accomplish? What didn't we accomplish? What did we get wrong? Assess and be able to set the next quarter's rocks. I am convinced that if people would take this methodology into their personal life with their New Year's resolutions, there'd be a vast majority of people hitting their New Year's resolutions instead of the vast majority not. In fact, many of you know that I used to own a fitness facility, a gym, my wife and we knew every January we'd have this influx of people. And by February 1st, they'd all go away, or at least majority, not all. Every gym knows this because, again, people are setting annual resolutions, New Year's resolutions, and they're not chunking their goals down to the quarter where they're going to sprint towards something hard, assess where they got it right, assess where they got it wrong, and recalibrate for that next quarter sprint. So it's really important that you do this. So this is just a little playbook on how to get towards your long-term vision through your short-term goals. What's also really important on this is, why do you exist as a company? What's your core purpose, your mission? Here's where a lot of people get mission wrong. They think that mission is a marketing slogan. They think that mission is something that looks good on a wall or good on a website. And although some missions may be written so well that it becomes that, but I think that's a byproduct. The true purpose of a mission or core focus is that it's why you exist. It's a filtering mechanism. It helps you make decisions. So you don't get trapped in shiny object syndrome. You don't get running enthusiastically in the wrong direction. It helps you stay laser focused on why you exist as an organization. What are you the best in the world at? Now, I always use this example because Starbucks' core focus or mission is to be the premier purveyor of coffee in the world. And for some of you, you may love Starbucks and agree with that statement. For me, I personally think their coffee tastes burnt. I don't like Starbucks. But they didn't ask me my opinion. It's what they believe they're the best in the world at, right? So what do you believe you're the best in the world at? Your company, your organization. You get laser focused on that. That's why you exist. And that's what keeps you centered and your purpose and moving forward and waking up each day to fight the good fight. It's very important. One of the things I also focus on is your core values as an organization. Many companies get this wrong as well. In fact, a lot of companies have core values. They're beautiful. They're written on the wall. They're on the website. And I go in and ask just a random employee, hey, could you tell me your core values? Not many can state them. Not many can even get one right. And so when you have your core values so right, all of your members of your team can recite them and they know exactly what they mean and they live by them daily. So when I go into organizations and start working with them and we're talking about values, I'm always very careful to say, I'm not here to change your core values. You probably worked very hard on them. You're probably attached to them in some way or some shape or form, but I am going to test them because anytime that we move forward with this, we're going to hire, we're going to fire, we're going to promote, we're going to review, and we're going to coach through those values. So if your values aren't right, and we're going to do those 5 things moving forward, we got a problem. They're not your values. We got to be able to stand on those values. It's really important. And they help form your filtering mechanism. They help form your decision-making process. You don't operate outside of those. Too many companies we're seeing, I use this as an example all the time, Enron, the famous demise of Enron. You want to know what one of their core values was? Integrity. Believe it or not, they didn't operate with much integrity. So it was more of an aspirational value, someone they wanted to be, or at least the public to perceive that they were, but they weren't. You want to make sure that you live by your values, that it's ingrained in every piece of your organization. That if I walk into your organization, not only can your people recite it, I actually feel your values when I walk in there. There's a couple great companies that I can walk into, one locally, that I feel their values when I walk in. I see it exhibited in their people. It's not just on their wall, it's written in their DNA. And that's what you want from core values, because the right core values magnetize the right people to your organization and repel the wrong ones away. It's an amazing thing when it happens. It builds an amazing culture because it's your tribe, the people that value what you value, believe what you believe, and are bought into your vision. That's the purpose behind them. So that's a little piece on the business. Now, there's a lot more that I do with this and that you can do. I like taking a day away. I've gone up to my parents' lake house before, just to get quiet in the woods. You could take a team to offsite, work with them, come to Five Bridges Farm. We got space. We got days still available the rest of this year. Just get in touch with us. And we'd love to host you here. I don't have to be a part of it, but you guys can use our space. Love to host you. It's getting out of the business to work on the business. It's sometimes taking that pause, or what you might perceive as getting out of the busy work to take a step back, to take multiple steps forward. That's the purpose of it. It always feels kind of icky in the moment because there's so much going on at all times. But then you get through it and you're like, man, that was such a great use of time. Now we're aligned. Now we can go charge towards the rest of this year and continue that momentum into the next year. So crucial that you do this in your business. So crucial that you do this in your life. So let's take it to your personal life real quick. I don't think the planning for your personal life is too dissimilar than your business life. The difference is most people don't do it. And if you think about this, like you're going to spend a certain duration of your life working, but you have your whole rest of your life as well. And in fact, the majority of your joy should be coming outside of your work, be it with your family or your creative or whatever it may be that brings you joy. And so, why aren't we thinking about vision planning for our personal lives, for our families? You don't need permission. You just need to do it. Or if you're someone that does need permission, let me give you that permission right now. You got to get it done. Because otherwise, you may end up in a spot that you didn't want to end up in because you didn't put forethought into it. You didn't charge in a certain direction. So, very similarly, if I were to ask you, if we're sitting here 10 years from today, what would you want to accomplish personally, professionally, and financially to feel like you've checked everything off your list? And let's start forming a vision for you personally and or for your family if you have one. This will be an exercise if you're married to sit down or to go away for a cabin or a nice weekend retreat with your spouse and vision plan. When I was a financial advisor, is interesting. By the way, that question that I just asked there about 10 years personally, professionally, financially, I usually started with 3 years, then worked to 10 years, then 20 plus years. That was one of the first questions I asked when I sat down with clients. And what was so surprising is the couples would have differing answers, right? The husband and wife would have different answers. And they'd often look at each other and be like, I didn't know you wanted to do that. I didn't, like because they hadn't communicated. And it was such an awesome opportunity for me as an advisor to get to know them and help them bridge that gap to communicate with each other on what they wanted in the next 3, 10, 20 plus years. And so I've been used to doing this all my entire adult life pretty much. And I realize how abnormal it is for most people to have these conversations. You're so stuck in the hustle and bustle of getting the kids here, cooking dinner, getting laundry done, dishes done, doing the yard work, plus all the work that you have on your plate, running your kids to extracurriculars. I get it. It's busy. I'm in a busy season with 4 young kids. But you still need that time together to chart out the future, create that lighthouse. So what does it look like in 10 years? Are you guys still living in the same home? Have you built your dream home? Do you have a vacation property? Where are the kids? Are some of them in college? Are some of them still in the house? Have you checked off things on your bucket list? Like what is on that bucket list? Any experiences that you want to create as a family? Like have those conversations for that lighthouse further out. Have a vision for the family. And before I get to chunkating that down, do you have family core values? Do you guys have a guiding mechanism for making decisions as a husband and wife? Do you have those core values that you're coaching your kids through? Are you able to talk to them when they screw up? Because all kids do. We did as well. Whether you want to admit it or not, I screwed up a ton as a kid, still screwing up. But and that being said, like what are those core values you're pointing them to? And can they be on the wall as well and say, hey, when the kid screws up, when they're treating their sibling like crap, are you pointing to one of the core values and saying, let's say one of them's kindness? Hey, are you operating within the Kosnick core values of kindness when you're talking like that to your younger brother or younger sister? No. Okay, this is a coaching moment. We don't do that in this house. It makes it really easy, or easier, I should say, to start correcting and coaching your kids to form them into the humans you want to form them into. So I would sit with your spouse, have some core values, agree upon them. How do we want to raise the kids? How do we want them to grow up in this society? What values do we want them to hold? And what are we going to stand on as a family? You want to form an unshakable family unit. Part of that comes with those values and identifying what they are. But also part of it is you and your spouse becoming an amazing couple. Part of that is you have to work on yourselves individually. And then part of that is you got to continue pursuing each other like you did when you were courting each other and not letting that flame ever die. Because remember that our kids are going to watch far more than they listen. Actions are caught, not taught. They're watching everything. You know this. So you got to be the best example possible for them as individuals and as a couple. So what are those values? What are you going to raise them with? Then you can go through the exercise 10 years, 3 years, 1 year, 90 days. What experiences do we want to create for our kids in 2026? Do we want to go on spring break? Do we want to take them to Disneyland? Do we want to do a hiking or camping excursion? How many times do we want them to see the grandparents? Whatever those things are for you. And then plot them out. And for you high achievers, make sure this, whatever you plot out, wherever your kids' activities are, if they're in sports, if they're in dance like my girls, whatever those are, get them in your calendar before your work gets in your calendar so that you can be there, be a present father, present mother, showing up for them in their most important endeavors. They will always remember that. How do you want to organize the year? Who's going to own what responsibilities? Have these conversations. Ask each other, how can I be a better partner to you in 2026? How can I show up for you better? How can I love you better? You want to build an unbreakable marriage? You want to build an unbreakable or unshakable family unit? These are the conversations you need to have. It's crucially important. We've all heard that a couple or a friend group in our friend group or a couple in our sphere that gets divorced, or we find out they're getting divorced, and their reasoning is we grew apart. You can't grow apart if you're having these conversations. You can't grow apart if you're constantly pursuing each other like you were when you're courting each other. You can't grow apart if you're constantly placing emphasis and priority on each other's relationships or on each other's relationship and not letting the kids just dictate your life and your schedule. And you can't grow apart if you've got a future vision together. So important. I can't stress this enough. So I want you to win in business, and I want you to win big, but I want you to win bigger in your personal life. I want you to win bigger with your spouse, with your kids, with those that you love most. Because your business is not going to be there for you on your deathbed. The people you employ may or may not show up to your funeral, depends on how you treat them. But man, I hope your kids and spouse are there in your last moments. And that's up to you. So I'm going to keep this short and sweet today. I hope you found value in this. If you have not done your annual planning yet, this is your sign. It's your sign to get on it. It's your sign to take any pieces that I've given you today. Feel free to reach out to me if you need anything more or have any more questions. If you want to use the Five Bridges Farm to be that space for you and your team or you and your spouse, reach out. Happy to host you here. But remember, this is on you. No one's coming to save you. No one's coming to give you the vision for your family or your business. This is on you. And you have it in you. You just got to let it out, get it on paper, and start chasing it. Form the plan, start chasing it. Let's make 2026 your best year ever in your business and your personal life. Remember, the good and great are the enemies of possible. Lead like a Spartan today.
This is Sparta!